So far this year, I've heard plenty of people talking about second-year wide receivers, second-year wide receivers. What I haven't heard is what I heard last year, which was second-year wide receivers as well as first-year wide receivers. Seems like there's been a lot more focus in fantasy football this year on second-year wide receivers. It doesn't seem like there's as much optimism about these rookie wide receivers coming into the NFL. I'm going to give you my 4 favorite rookie wide receivers that I think are skyrocketing up and are going to the moon. So first on my list, at pick 62 overall, he is wide receiver 29, I believe. It is T-Mac, Tedoa McMillan from the Carolina Panthers. So obviously, when it comes to T-Mac, he was picked in the first round of the NFL draft. I think he was picked number 8 overall by the Panthers, so he obviously has draft capital behind him. Why do I feel so confident? Well, one, I watched tape and reviewed all these rookie wide receivers. So I found the ones that I liked on tape, then I looked at their stats, then I looked at their situations, and then I made my list. So I feel very confident looking at tape. And in his junior season was a standout, phenomenal talent. The guy's tall, the guy's not super fast, but he's fast enough. He has great contested catch abilities. I know a lot of people were saying that they were worried about that. I don't have that same fear or concern after watching the tape on T-Mac. Yes, there are times where maybe he's going to get pushed around a little bit in the NFL due to the fact that he's not as big. So my biggest comp for T-Mac, and again, maybe this is like, high side, but man, I just, for some reason, like feel it somewhere inside of me, is going to be Calvin Johnson. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be Megatron. I'm not saying he's going to play at that level. He's obviously not as fast and not quite as athletic. I can concede that point. What I can say, though, is that I see him going into a similar situation, and I think that he has some of the similar tools and abilities. So similar tools and abilities, he's a tall, long, lanky guy who's fast enough, who can jump, who can play contested catches. So I think when it comes to play styles, again, Calvin Johnson is kind of like a one of one. If we can get Calvin Johnson light, or if I can get Calvin Johnson discounted, like clearance price from Walmart, where it's just a deal, I'll take that. That's more than enough for me, especially where T-Mac's going in the draft, which is about in the middle of the 6th round, 7th round, somewhere in there. You have another year of Dave Canales working with Bryce Young. At the end of last season, Bryce Young was coming along. Once he came back off the bench, he looked a lot better, especially in his last 4 or 5 weeks. So I expect Bryce Young to have regained some confidence, for him to be able to take another step up in this offense with Dave Canales, for his play to be better. And when it comes to target competition for this team, I'm not worried about it whatsoever. You have a very old Adam Thielen who's gotten injured quite a bit throughout his career, so I don't know how much of the season he's going to play. You have Xavier Legette, who I am rooting for to have a second-year breakout, but I don't know if it's actually going to happen. And you have Jalen Coker, who I'm not really worried about either. So I really don't feel like there's going to be target competition on this team for T-Mac. I am 100% in on T-Mac. And I expect for the last, 6, 7, 8 weeks of the season for him to really come on and be vying as a strong wide receiver 2 in fantasy football. At number 2, I have Trey Harris playing for the Los Angeles Chargers. I don't really have a really good comp because he is playing alongside Lav McConkey. So then the question becomes, is he going to be the wide receiver 1B? Is he really just a wide receiver 2? And then it's okay if he is a wide receiver 2. Is he more of a T. Higgins? But then you look at what T. Higgins did in his last year in college and then what he did in his last year in college. It's not really comparable, so I don't really have a good wide receiver 2 to comp him to. When it comes to Trey Harris on tape, man, the guy is a physical point of the catch wide receiver. He is a contested catch guy. He has some back end burners. You watch some of these wide receivers when they catch the ball and they make some contact and they just run out of steam. I'm not saying that he's breakaway Superman speed kind of guy when he's catching the ball, but it just seems like his contact balance after he puts the boom on a DB or a safety, which again, I love him being a physical receiver. And I know that Harbaugh is going to absolutely love that as well. The big thing though is after he makes that contact, it's not he really slows down. I swear it's he hits the DB, hits the safety, hits the linebacker, and the man gets faster. He just finds a way to accelerate through breaking tackles, through making contact. The other big thing that I really am a fan of is, like I said, situationally speaking, Justin Herbert with Jim Harbaugh last season, they were progressing steadily, passing the ball more every single week. So I anticipate that to still be what we see going into next season. I know they drafted Amari Hampton. I know they brought over Najee Harris. I just feel like you're getting Trey Harris at pick 130 in the draft. He's going, at almost the end of the 11th round. So you're getting a guy that's like a miniature dart throw who I think has high upside potential. And again, if you watch his tape, he looks amazing. So I'm absolutely in on Trey Harris. This is kind of like the range where a lot of these like wide receivers threes, rookie wide receivers are kind of going. I'd rather shoot my shot on a guy who I don't know what they're going to do in the pros versus taking a wide receiver 3 on a team that I've seen how they played and they haven't played that well before. So I'd rather just shoot my shot. And again, Trey Harris is very impressive on the tape, and I like the situation he's going to be in with the Chargers next season. So next at number 3, I have Jack Beck. He's going at pick 139, going at the end of the 12th round, almost in the 13th round, which I find to be absolutely insane. The gap between him and Jacoby Myers is kind of insane. I don't think that you can easily say that Jacoby Myers is going to be the wide receiver 1 on this team at the beginning of the season, and I definitely think you should have an even harder time thinking that midway through the season. Jack Beck, again, played for TCU, not the biggest, craziest, most dominant school. Watching his tape at TCU, especially against some of the teams where like bigger schools that were actually like, Power 5 conferences, I liked what I saw. The guy has some pretty quick speed. He has some pretty high hops. He has some really good contested catch ability. And holistically speaking, I think that he was a very well-rounded wide receiver in the NFL draft. I think the Raiders getting him as late as they did was a fantastic pick for them, especially where he went. And coming into this team, I think that he is set up for a pretty high ceiling going into the back half of the season. I don't think that they brought Geno Smith in, honestly, to have them run the ball 49,000 times with Ashton Genty. I think next season you're going to see a huge elevation in this passing game. I think that it will be complemented by the running game. I don't think it's going to be dominated by the running game. And when it comes to Jacoby Myers' player profile coming out of college versus Jack Beck's, I just don't think there's really a comparison. I feel like going in the next season, you're going to see again around week 4, 5, or 6, you're going to see Jack Beck establish himself as the wide receiver 2 on this team, the second receiving option behind Brock Bowers. So again, I expect by middle to end of the season, Jack Beck for you to, on your team, to be somebody that you're able to start putting in as a wide receiver 3 or a flex option towards, again, the middle end of the season next year, or I guess this coming season. Jack Beck going as late as he's going, him going so far after Jacoby Myers, I think is absolutely crazy, especially considering talent profile. I think that Jack Beck is significantly better talent for talent with Jacoby Myers, and I expect for us to see that this coming season in 2025. So for my 4th and final rookie wide receiver that I think is going to the moon in 2025, it is pick 183. I think he's going in the 16th round, and that is Pat Bryant from the Denver Broncos. So when it comes to Pat Bryant, I think, first of all, that him getting drafted as high as he did, that draft capital, going in that early of a round, getting picked by Sean Payton is a huge deal. I don't think he was on a lot of people's radars, a lot of scouts' radars. I think that Sean Payton stamped, this is my guy. I'm going to go up and take him earlier than he probably is going to go, but I want to make sure he's on my team. We've already heard Sean Payton kind of make some references about how he's comparing him to Marquise Colston. Now, I'm not saying Pat Bryant is going to be the Marquise Colston. He is a little bit shorter. I don't think he's going to be quite as fast or quite as vertical, but I do like the comparison between him and Marquise Colston, especially when it comes from Sean Payton, because we saw, again, what Sean Payton did with him on his team with the Saints. Another big positive for me with Pat Bryant is watching his tape. Man, the guy's pretty explosive. The man's very physical. The biggest and hardest thing to do when it comes to like looking at his tape is, again, the competition that he was playing out of Illinois wasn't at the same high tier, so it's really hard to like know how that's going to translate 100%. But then again, Marquise Colston went to a tiny college as well, and it translated pretty well. So again, who knows? That's my only complaint. It's really hard to see him playing against bigger schools. In the games I did watch, though, and reviewing the tape, I was very impressed. Again, I thought he was very explosive. I thought he was looking for contact, which again, I'm sure Sean Payton loves. I think he's going to be a very big body, physical wide receiver, and I think it's exactly what Sean Payton wants on this team. I think for Sean Payton going in the next season with Bo Nix, there's a reality where Courtland Sutton can exist, Evan Ingram can exist, and Pat Bryant can exist. If these are really your 3 main big priority receivers on this team, Pat Bryant has a potential to realistically be a wide receiver 3 in fantasy football next season. I'm not saying that you're going to see him outpace Courtland Sutton at the beginning of the season. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Courtland Sutton's going to have his refined role as the wide receiver 1 on this team. It wouldn't surprise me if he goes from the 3rd receiving option to the 2A option to the 1B option. The point in time where Pat Bryant gets to the 1B option with Sean Payton, again, having drafted him, wanting him on this team, scheming him up, I'm expecting Pat Bryant to be one of the best picks that you can make as like a late round dart throw in fantasy football. I don't know why I have so much hype about Pat Bryant. I know a lot of people aren't talking about him. I know he's kind of like going under the radar. And I just think that there's a potential reality where Pat Bryant literally ends up being the wide receiver 2 on this team, and it's like a 1B option. And he ends up being somebody that you took in the 15th, 16th, 17th, whatever round he's going when you draft. And he ends up being a smash pick for you at the end of the season. All right, so there are my 4 rookie wide receivers that I think are going to the moon in 2025. Hopefully this helps you get just a little bit closer to winning your fantasy football championship in 2025. Hopefully I'll see you guys again. No, hopefully you guys will see me again real soon. Until then, y'all have a blessed day. Bye.